ordered to do mission work. And we know the story beyond that because the first missionary journey, we find that both Paul and Barnabas go out and they do a lot of work right up in the Asia Minor area, and they go and they establish churches, and a lot of great things take place. They come back getting a little spat over John Mark, and then Paul goes out again with Silas. Barnabas goes out with John Mark. We followed Paul's second journey. He goes out and goes on over into Europe, in Macedonia and to Greece, and he goes over there and establishes some works, comes back, and then a third time he goes out and kind of goes back over the same path that he had went before, checking on all the churches, make sure things are going well, encouraging them, strengthening them, winds up back in Jerusalem, and from there we know that he winds up in jail. Now, all of that having been said, it all began in a little church service at Antioch where some guys had gotten together and God spoke to their heart and life and said, single these guys out. I want them to do a great work. I'm just going to read verses 3 and 4. And when they had fasted and prayed, laid their hands on them, they sent them away. So they, being sent forth by the Holy Ghost, departed unto Seleucia, and from thence they sailed to Cyprus. Now, having been singled out by God to go out and to do evangelism, to start churches, to disciple new saints, it was an incredible work. And I got to tell you, when we start thinking about all the things that were accomplished from this moment on, to me, it's just an amazing thing. I love this because I realize what this little event, what just this little small service taking place, what it produced. Now, we don't always think about how big the things we do can turn out to be. We think that they're just something simple. God called 2 men to go out and do mission work. Everybody's excited, send them out. Let's do it. But to see and to know what took place from all of that, I want you to stop and think for a moment about the number of folks that came to know Jesus Christ as a result of their ministry, as a result of their work. How about the number of churches that were started and planted as a result of them being sent out? How about all the folks that once they came to know Christ, that they recognized their leadership abilities God called in their life and appointed them to be the new pastors of those churches? How about all the young ministers that were trained up? While they're out on a missionary journey, young men like Timothy accepted Jesus Christ and became a great warrior for Christ. So they trained up young ministry. They corrected a lot of false teachings. Anytime you do something that's right and something that's good, false teachings creep in. And so they corrected a lot of that. They discipled saints so that they could grow and be everything God would have them to be. They helped solicit some funds for the struggling church back in Jerusalem. As they started these churches, they didn't waste any time. Let them know, hey, listen, we got some saints back in Jerusalem that are struggling. They've been persecuted. They could use some funds. You guys are doing pretty well for yourself. Let's help them out. And so, we see some of these things. They exercised the gifts that God had given them in their own life. They counseled folks on church discipline. They instructed churches regarding the doctrine that they ought to be teaching. And they overcame just so many obstacles. And they were used of God basically to pen the Bible, the New Testament. And so when we look at all these things that took place out of one little prayer meeting where they prayed and they fasted, and we see all the works that began as a result of that. Truth be known, you and our work here at Hilltop Baptist Church is a direct result of that down the road. At some point in time, when they ministered over there in Europe, the work and the ministry that took place there flourished and grew. And at some point in time, it made its way in England. At some point in time, it made its way to the United States. At some point in time, it made its way to Fairfield, Ohio. And Hilltop Baptist Church was born. We owe who we are and all that we've done to a little prayer meeting there in Antioch, where God singled out a couple of folks. That having been said, we are certainly not expecting such things, I guess, from our mission crew to Jamaica, but we are expecting big things. Because there are going to be some folks in Jamaica that are going to say, man, am I glad that those folks over there at Hilltop Baptist Church made a sacrifice. I'm glad that God led them our way. And we certainly hope and we pray that there'll be souls that will come to know Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. We certainly hope that they'll be encouraged by the folks that are there and by the work that you do. And we hope that you all will leave a lasting message on their hearts and their lives of the love of Jesus Christ and the church here in Fairfield, Ohio. I think it's kind of interesting because right now, right at this very moment, many of the people you're going to be witnessing to, many of the people you'll be telling about Jesus Christ, many of the people that you'll be sharing gifts with and things with, they have no idea who you are. They may not even know you're coming. They don't know anything about the Hilltop Baptist Church. They don't know anything about you. And I like to think about that. And I'll tell you why is because today they don't know the first thing about what God's going to do in their life. Come next week, they're going to see firsthand what God can do through you. There's something about that just amazes me. I think about that when I go knocking on doors. You know, I think about the fact that we'll go out and hand out Vacation Bible School flyers, or these are people that don't even know perhaps that we even exist. Maybe don't even know that we're even a church. They don't know the first thing, and we have an opportunity to tell them about Jesus Christ, and suddenly we show up in their life. And whether they realize it or not, from that moment we show up in their life, suddenly they're having to face eternity, and they're having to face a decision that will affect their eternity all of a sudden. Folks, next week, y'all are going to face some people, and you're going to meet some people. And all the sacrifice and all the things you've had to do in order to go to Jamaica. And I don't know everything about your life, but some of you might be sitting there thinking, yeah, you have no idea, Pastor, it's been tough. You know, it's been really tough. Hey, I've even debated on whether or not I ought to go. I've got this, and I've got that, and I've got... When you stand before those people, you know as well as I do, you're going to be glad that you made the decision to tell them about Jesus Christ. And they're going to hear the good news of Jesus Christ because of your sacrifice. And I think about that, and I just want to share a few thoughts about this mission team and the work that they have to do. And I want to talk about a little bit about even our own responsibility as a church. Before I do all that, I want to introduce them to you. I'm not going to have them come up here just yet. I want to do that at the end. But I do want to mention them to you. I'm not going to mention names you guys don't know, but I'll mention names that these folks maybe don't know. I'll begin with your leader, Miss Judy Sanderson. She is the rock of this crew. She's been active in our mission work with a heart for seeing people come to Jesus Christ as their Savior ever since she joined the church. Ever since she came here. She's not a novice at this. She had already made several trips to Haiti. In the time that she's been here, she's been a part of a trip to New York, short trips with us to Kentucky and other parts of Ohio, other trips to Jamaica prior to this one, and maybe even other things that I'm not aware of. But she's not a novice when it comes to this. And we pray that God will use her and do great things in the work that she has planned. She puts a lot of effort and a lot of planning into this. Those of you that go, you know this better than I can even imagine. But what we find is she spends an awful lot of time of making sure everything goes as planned. And don't mess with her plan. Amen. Don't mess with her plan. She puts that plan together. You might as well just figure, you know what? We're going to do it the way she has it planned, and that's the way it works. But I can't tell you how much we appreciate Miss Judy. She's on our mission team. We love her, and I have really come to appreciate her and all she does. She has a love and a heart seeing people come to know Jesus Christ. I want to tell you a little something. When she came to the church, I thought this was really neat. And she'll tell you this. You can ask her. One of the biggest reasons, there are some other reasons, but one of the biggest reasons she chose to become a part of the Hilltop Baptist Church because we go out on visitation knocking on doors. And she'll tell you that. In fact, before she ever joined, she asked, am I allowed to go door knocking with you guys? I really have appreciated her heart for that. And she's been faithful in that in the time that she's been here. So appreciate her. The second, and I'm going to put these two together because they're married, Miss Mark and Janet Gibson. Very active in our church. Involved in outreach, involved in just about everything we do. They put a lot of people, and I don't mean this derogatory, but they put a lot of people to shame in the fact of what they do. They never quit. If there's something I need done, I got to tell you, these are the people I go to because they love the Lord, and I know that. They too are not new to the mission trips because they seem to go on every mission trip that we try to establish and we try to work. They've taken a couple of trips actually to New York. They went with our teens. They went with our mission crew. They've been to Utah. Did you go with them to Mexico? I don't think you were able to go to that one. And I meant to say New Mexico, not Mexico. They've taken some small trips with us, Kentucky and Ohio, as well as some previous trips to Jamaica. And just for the record, every Sunday they make a pretty good trip. They live in Trotwood, Ohio. It's over an hour's drive every time they come to the church, and they don't miss a service. That's where they put people to shame. People live around the corner and can't seem to make it back to church, but they'll make it every service. I can't tell you the number of times in preaching, pastors' conferences and that kind of thing, I use them as an example because they worked me to death. You say, well, what do you mean they work you to death? Are they that much trouble? No, it's not that at all. I have a philosophy. I believe the pastor ought to be the hardest working guy in the church. And they make that really tough because it's hard to outwork them. It's hard to be the hardest working person in the church when you have people that are so committed and so faithful. Big asset to the church. And I got to tell you, they have been such an incredible encouragement to both Debbie and I. They've been there in times where we really needed people in our lives, and we have come to love and appreciate them so much. Second crew. And put them together, Mr. Rick and Scarlett Erdman. Mr. Rick and Miss Scarlett Erdman. How do you say that? Rick and Scarlett Erdman. Again, they've been faithful members of our church for quite a while now. They're the ones that really introduced us to a full-fledged children's ministry. Helped us really get into an Awana ministry. I'm going to tell you, this is kind of an interesting, when we began the Awana ministry, within a year or 2 years, we had one of the bigger Awana programs around. If I'm not mistaken, our children's program, if you know what it is today, and right now, it's as big as it's been in a really long time. But in that day, we were on how many kids on a Wednesday night? 60, 70 kids. So it was a good, strong program. And we really appreciate how much effort they've put into that. They've taken part in previous trips to Jamaica as well. They're not new to this. Rick is our go-to guy. Now, Scarlett has always taught Sunday school, been very active in our work. But Rick has always been my go-to guy. I'm going to tell you, there's not anything in this church that Rick hasn't had his hands on. Honest to goodness. There's a lot of things that you never know take place sometimes as late as 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night when Rick gets off work and just eats his supper maybe and runs over here and does something. It's funny, you could just pop in at most any time and he's liable to be here doing something. And it has always amazed me. And again, they've become such close friends of ours. Another couple of people that have been there when Debbie and I really needed people. And really appreciate them and appreciate what they've meant to me in my life. And I think God will use them and do great things on this trip. I know the first trip they went on, they wasn't sure if they'd be able to go. Rick's not always able to travel abroad just because of his job and what he's allowed to do and not allowed to do. But then they found out they were able to, gave him permission, and now that's just all behind us. And they're able to do the work that God would have them to do. And so we really appreciate them. Miss Janet Garrett. Miss Janet's also been around for quite a while. We've had a lot to do with their family. Our paths have crossed a lot just because we've had some of the same burdens in our family, some troubles and struggles, and it has caused us to be close. We've had children. I was looking at a picture the other day, and I'm not trying to get teary-eyed or nothing like that, but I was looking at a picture the other day, the little three amigos, her boys and my boy. We're all big buddies. And it's hard to look at a picture like that anymore because both my son and her sons have passed on. And it's difficult. These three little boys that ran around here and acted all crazy are now with the Lord. But because of that, it's tied us together. It has caused us to be close. We've vacationed together. We've had times together where we've been friends and we do things together and we appreciate one another. She too has been very active in the church, doing a lot of the other work. And I mentioned some of these things about doing the work in the church because I really want you to know, and I want you to realize that, the folks that step out and do some of these things that are beyond our church work, they don't neglect the work here to do that. They've been a part been a part of the work that we have here and the things that go on here. And we just appreciate folks that do that. She's been to Jamaica as well on previous trips, and I'm sure looking forward to this trip as well. Tom Bond. I ain't saying nothing about that guy. You know, Tom has been here not nearly as long as these others we've already mentioned. And from the word go, for some reason, he and I just became friends. Just one of those things where we just bonded, you know. You do that. Stop it, Janet. So they're crying. She's getting me all teared up. I hate that.
She mentioned my name.
That was... Tom, your name always brings tears to my eyes. Trust me. But you know, Tom has been a trustee in our church for the time that he's been here, very involved, very active. Another one of those guys who can just show up and you never know he's been here. And all of a sudden something's working, something's fixed, something's done. And really appreciate guys like that. Been a huge help. And again, kind of like the things that Rick does. It's things that you just don't always see. You just take for granted. You come in and those things are done. The lights are working, the heat's on, the air's on, the whatever's done. And you have no idea sometimes those things through the week, they've just went out and these guys fix them. You know, the bus is up and running when it hasn't run all week and just, okay, I'll just get a little text, bus is running. You know, you got a light switch, you got this, you got that, this is happening, this is going on. It's like, thank you, you know. These are these guys. That's those guys. That's what they do and have always appreciated that. Tom's also one of those guys that, man, if you need somebody to fill in, he's Johnny on the spot. Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. Yep, I'm your guy. And I really appreciate him. He's one of those guys, too. I'm going to tell you, you know, you don't always have this kind of guy in your life, but Tom's one of these guys for me. He's one of the guys you can unload on. You know, I don't know, say he's got broad shoulders, but as a pastor, you don't have very many people you can unload on. You know, you can talk to a lot of people. You can have a lot of friends, and you have a lot of folks that you love and care for. But man, sometimes you need to vent. You know, he's one of those guys I can do that with. You know, and he's funny because he'll just like what he's doing right now. But he's one of those guys. Tom, you want to go out to lunch? Oh man, yeah, I guess I know what's coming. You know, I've come to love and appreciate him. He's another one of those guys that drives, I don't know, a long way. Where do you live? Madison Township, is that right?
Just outside of Carlisle.
Yeah. If you've ever been to Camp Chautauqua, all right, just a bit farther than that. And that's how long he drives as well. So we really appreciate him. The next one is one that's really pretty new to our church, Miss Alicia Hasty. We appreciate her. She hasn't been around a long time, but this is her second trip to Jamaica. She's not a novice about it. She's starting to learn. She knows the ropes. She now knows how to deal with Miss Judy. And Miss Judy doesn't have her in a panic-stricken state anymore. She's learned to calm her nerves and think, okay, that's just her, okay. But I've come to appreciate her because she's been faithful. I always like faithful people. And when you look at young people and you think about young people that are faithful, that stick to it, that do the things that they need to do, she hasn't been around long enough for us to get her involved in a lot of things. But I got to tell you, it's neat seeing her here and knowing that she loves the Lord and knowing that she's a part of our congregation. And you know, it's good. When you preach, here's some things you notice. There are those that just flat fall asleep. There are those that busy themselves doing other things, and there are those that hang on every word you speak. She's one of those that if I need a little encouragement, if I look over here and Bob's asleep, you know, and I look over here and everybody's got their cell phones out and going, I know that I get a little encouragement when I look down here and I see somebody just giving me the eye right back, paying attention. That is so encouraging. And it's especially encouraging when it's young people that love the Lord. And Miss Alicia, we so appreciate you. Thank you so much. And not to mention, she has to take care of her dad. You know, he needs that. But we love her. Lastly, and not necessarily the least or anything, just last on my list is Miss Brandy Erdman. Miss Brandy, just barely a year now you've been married, right? When was your anniversary? Wasn't your anniversary? Last Sunday. I was thinking, I just saw that. All right, I think I even liked it on Facebook for you. Okay, just for the record. I pay attention sometimes, all right? But she's only been married into Hilltop Baptist Church for a year. And this is her first trip to Jamaica. And so she's new to all this. Be nice to her, Miss Judy. All right, she's a rookie. All right. I'm sure she's going to do an incredible job, and I'm confident that the crew is going to break her in nicely and gently with kid gloves until she gets the hang of things. I'm sure they're not going to abuse you too much. But no, we appreciate her. Seriously, her and John have been stalwarts in the church. We appreciate them, appreciate their efforts. Appreciate John helps me with my computer. As a matter of fact, he's going to work on a little bit tonight after church. Amen. Get me up and running. But we appreciate them and appreciate the efforts they've made and the things they've done. And we really, really, really appreciate them. I'm sure she's going to be a big help in doing a lot of this work. And it's good to have some of those young legs. Yeah, Miss Judy? Some of the places are hilly, Some of the places are hilly. What are you doing, Hugh?
I'm going to speak after you.
No, you're not. You're going to sit down. No, I'm serious. You're going to sit down. Hugh, please don't do this tonight. I need you to sit.
You sure?
I'm positive.
All right. There was one of the men down on the corner when he was preaching here before he was elected pastor. I helped elect him pastor.
Thank you, Huey. Tonight I'm just trying to honor this Jamaica crew. All right? So that's our crew. That's our Jamaica crew tonight. We appreciate them. We appreciate what they'll be doing. I want to preach just a little bit of a charge to them before we do anything else. Aside from all the things on your schedule, the expectations of the Jamaican pastor that you'll be working with, we have some things that we expect of you as well. And we just want to share some things that I think are incredibly important. First of all, I think you need to be faithful to all that you do and do so the very best of your abilities, that you might honor God in the gifts that He's given you and in the things that He has given you. God's given you special gifts and abilities, each and every one of you. And it's so important that you use those gifts faithfully and to be a help to those pastors and to the churches that you serve. You know this, but I'm going to remind you, you're not going there to be served, you're going there to serve. Amen. And sometimes we get the idea, sometimes we think that they ought to be doing a lot for us. We're there to do what they need us to do. We're there to accomplish the work that God would have you to accomplish. And I know from experience, those that are hosting you, those that have called upon you and asked you to come out, those that are hosting you, just so you know, they've put a lot of work and a lot of effort into this. They've put a lot of time. They've had to do a lot of preparation in order to make sure that everything goes smoothly, in order to accommodate you, in order to make sure that the work that you do can be accomplished without any kinks, without anything getting in the way. They've put a lot of work and a lot of effort. It's important for you to go there and to be faithful and to serve as they need you to serve. The second thing about that is remember why you're going. It's Jamaica, guys. You can have some fun. It's enjoyable. Go to Jamaica. You're going to see some sights. You're going to be able to enjoy some things. I've been on trips to Jamaica, and we always took some time to ourselves. I had opportunities to do some snorkeling and climb the falls, Dunn's Falls, see some of the sights. I've had opportunities to do that, but that's not why you're going. Those are fun things to do while you're there, and you'll get the opportunity to do them. But the reason you're going is to tell people about Jesus Christ and let them see Jesus Christ in you. Your ultimate goal is to glorify Christ and to fulfill that portion of the Great Commission to go and to teach, to preach. Telling others about Jesus Christ is paramount when you're talking about your work. And like I said, there'll be other works you'll do there even. But all of that is done that you might glorify God. Not you might be able to say, look at what I've done. Look how wonderful I am. Look at the sacrifices I've made. Let us do that. Let us brag on you. Fact is, you need to glorify God in everything that you do there. So remember why you're going. This third one Might seem a little odd to you, but make sure you make Hilltop Baptist Church look good. You're a part of this work. You're a part of this church. Remember, you're not only ambassadors of Jesus Christ, but you're also representing the Hilltop Baptist Church. Be kind, be obedient, be Christ-like, be diligent. Let them know that the Hilltop Baptist Church loves the Lord, wants to see people saved, wants to reach out and help others. Make sure they see that in you. You represent us. What they know of the Hilltop Baptist Church, they'll know through you. It's the things that you say, it's the things that you do, and never forget, Jamaica needs our help. But what you do in Jamaica should not be forgotten when you return home. It's good that you're going to Jamaica. We appreciate that, and I think that's an incredible thing. But those same works need to be done here too. I was at a revival meeting one time, and it turned out to be a really embarrassing kind of a service. But Brother Sturm, if any of you know Brother Sturm, if you've ever heard him, we've had him here to preach before, but it's been a long time. He was preaching this revival, and he was preaching, and they had a crew that had just gotten back from a mission trip to Russia. And he said, I want to see those people that went to Russia. Can you stand up for us? And all the people that had went on the mission trip to Russia stood up. He says, I want to applaud you. What a great thing. That's awesome that you went to Russia. He says, stay standing for a moment. He looked over at the pastor. He says, Pastor Sams, it was Chuck Sams was pastor. He says, Pastor Sams, he says, do you have a door-to-door ministry here? He says, yes, we do. We do it on Saturday mornings. He goes, do me a favor and stand up and tell me how many of these people come to your door-to-door ministry. He said, they'll go to Russia, sacrifice to go to Russia, and forsake the people at home. I'm saying this. Jamaica needs you. And you can't even imagine how important it is for you to go. And I think it's important for you to be there. I think it's important for you to reach there. But never, never, never forget, this is the ministry God called you to. And that same work is important in Fairfield also. So when you return home, don't forget, Fairfield needs your attention also. Fairfield needs to know that you love them and that you're reaching out to them as well. Now, Hilltop Baptist Church, here's your charge, because I think it's important for us. We need to remember to pray for them. Call them out by name, single them out, be diligent in your prayers. They've went to the effort to make sure you know who's going. There's a prayer chart in the back with their pictures, their names on it. Man, I tell you what, I don't care how busy you get. I don't care how many things get in your way. Pray for them regularly. Every time you think about it, pray for them. It's our responsibility to do that. And pray for them as individuals. Not just God, pray for our missionary team and then go on about your day. Pray for them as individuals. Call out their names. Pray for even all the needs that you think that they may be facing. You know, some of them are kind of stepping outside their comfort zone, stepping outside their box, and doing things that are a little uncomfortable for them, but God will bless that. But you know what? They need your prayers. They need your strength. The second thing, pray for the Jamaica people that they'll be reaching. I don't know who they'll be touching. I can't call those people out by name because I don't know them. But I know that there's a reason why God's sending them over there. And I need to know that those people need my prayers. And the efforts that are being made, that they'll reach the hearts of those people and that they'll see Jesus Christ in all of this. And then the third and last thing that I think you need to pray for is this. The people that are hosting them over there, Jerry and Carol host our crew. We need to pray for them. Yes. Pray for them as they host our crew. They put a lot of time, a lot of effort into this work. They love the people of Jamaica, and they love our people. They love our crew. And we need to pray for them. Pray for Doug, who is over the whole program. Be the first time, Judy said, be the first time you guys will be meeting him. Pray for him. You know, we want, if you're going to put this kind of effort, this kind of time, this kind of money into something, you want to see something great take place. You want to see God's hand in it. I don't know, but what God might just call one of them and say into ministry full time. I have no idea. I don't know what God's going to do with you. You know, God, you may come away from this and God having led you to be a missionary. You may be an impact on some of our teenagers, some of the folks that God's working with and dealing with. Say, if they can do it, I can do it. Folks, you need to know the importance of this. In that little meeting at Antioch, where these men were praying and fasting, and God called them and said, or God called out Barnabas and Paul and said, I want these two guys to do mission work. I bet they had no idea at that moment all that was going to take place in their lives. I have no idea what God might do to you guys in your lives, but I really believe it can be great. I'm going to ask you guys, every one of you that are going to Jamaica, come up here if you wouldn't mind. Just line up in front of me if you wouldn't mind. Folks, this is your Jamaica crew coming up. These folks are going to represent Jesus Christ. They're going to